The galaxy was vast, filled with countless stars and endless worlds. Many races lived among those stars, each with their own hopes, fears, and dreams. Some worlds were peaceful, with gentle climates and kind skies. Others were harsh, burning deserts or frozen wastelands. Yet all of them shared one thing: the shadow of the Keth dominion. The Keth were not the oldest race in the galaxy, nor the most advanced. But they were strong, cruel, and ambitious. For centuries, they spread their empire across star systems. One by one, free worlds fell. Some surrendered without a fight, hoping to survive under Keth rule. Others resisted, but their fleets were broken, their cities burned. No one could stand against the Dominion for long. The galaxy's great alliance, once a proud shield against threats, was shattered. Fear and greed had weakened it. Some races abandoned their allies to save themselves. Others tried to bargain with the Dominion, only to be enslaved in the end. Among the races left vulnerable were the Yllari. They were a gentle people, tall and slender, with skin that shimmered in colors of pale silver. They were known for their wisdom, their songs, and their art. Their world, Ylara Prime, was a jewel of green valleys and crystal seas. But beauty and peace offered no defense against warships and soldiers. When the Dominion came, the Yllari Council sent pleas to the remaining members of the old alliance. They begged for help. "Stand with us," they cried. "If Ylara falls, more worlds will follow." But the replies were weak and cowardly. Some said they could not spare ships. Others warned that helping would only bring the Dominion's wrath on their own people. A few did not answer at all. The Yllari people felt despair sink into their hearts. Their fleets were small, their weapons outdated. They could not hold against the storm that was coming. In the council chamber of Ylara Prime, the elders gathered. Their voices trembled as they spoke. "We are alone," one whispered. "Not alone," said another, though his tone carried little hope. "There is one more chance," the others turned to him. His eyes glimmered with memory, not certainty. Long ago, before the Dominion's rise, there were others, a race apart. They called themselves humans. The name stirred unease in the chamber. "Humans?" a counselor asked. "The Deathworlders? The stories say they vanished from the stars." "Yes," the elder said softly. "But before they vanished, they made a vow. They said if ever the weak had no hope, we should call to them, and they would answer." Some laughed bitterly. Old legends. Nothing more. If they lived, where have they been all this time? Why should they care for us when the galaxy cared so little for them? But others were silent. Deep in their hearts, they remembered the whispers, the half-forgotten tales of humanity. A race from a violent homeworld who survived storms, predators, and endless wars. A race who never bowed to stronger powers, no matter the odds. The elder spoke again, his voice steady. "It is said that their silence was not weakness, but choice, that they withdrew to guard their strength. If there is even the smallest chance they still listen, should we not try?" The chamber fell quiet. They all knew the truth. Without aid, their world would burn. Without help, their children would be taken in chains. At last, the council leader nodded. "Send the signal. If the humans still exist, let them hear our plea." And so the Yllari built the beacon. It was no ordinary message, but one woven with old codes, frequencies known only to those who remembered ancient wars. Across the cold dark of space, the plea went out. "To the Deathworlders, to humanity, we call to you in our final hour. If you hear us, help us. We cannot survive alone." The signal vanished into the stars. Days passed, weeks. No answer came. The Dominion drew closer, their fleets like dark storms spreading through space. Yllari Prime shook with fear. Families hid in shelters. The skies filled with panic as evacuation ships carried refugees to hidden colonies. But no one truly believed they could escape the Dominion forever. One night, as the council gathered again, despair hung heavy. "They will not come," one counselor said, her voice hollow. "The humans are gone. We are fools to hope." The elder who first spoke of humanity closed his eyes. His heart ached, but still he whispered, "Hope is not foolish. It is the only weapon we have left." Far beyond Yllari space, in the forgotten edges of the galaxy, a relay station caught the signal. It was old, its system silent for centuries. Yet when the message reached it, lights flickered. Deep within the cold machines, a code stirred. A hidden path opened, carrying the signal further into the void. Somewhere, in a place no other race dared to go, humanity stirred. For generations they had watched in silence, hidden from the galaxy's gaze. Their fleets waited in secret harbors, their people hardened by the lessons of their unforgiving homeworld. They had sworn to rise only when the galaxy needed them most. Now the Yellari's desperate cry reached their ears, and the Deathworlders listened. In the farthest reaches of the galaxy, beyond the well-known trade lanes and far past the maps of the Dominion, there lay a region of space no other race dared to explore. It was a place of storms, shifting gravity wells and stars that flared with deadly power. Most ships that entered never returned. To the galaxy it was known as a cursed zone, a place of death and silence. But within that silence there was life. Within the storms, hidden carefully, humanity endured. Centuries ago, after wars that shook the stars, humans had chosen to step away from galactic affairs. They had seen betrayal, arrogance, and fear from other races. When they had fought side by side with allies, those allies had turned away at the first sign of danger. Humanity learned then that trust in others came at a cost, so they vanished, drawing their fleets back into the void. The galaxy believed them gone, extinct, or broken. That was what humanity wanted them to believe. In truth, the humans had not faded. They had grown stronger, sharper, and more dangerous. Their world, Earth, had always been harsh. Storms, predators, hunger, and endless conflict shaped them from the beginning. To live there meant to fight. To fight meant to adapt. And in space they carried that same spirit. Their colonies were built in places no other species would survive. Frozen moons, burning deserts, and asteroids with no air. What others called impossible, humans called home. Deep inside this hidden region the Terran High Command gathered. It was a vast hall carved into the rock of a hollowed-out moon. Around a long table sat the leaders of humanity, admirals, generals, and counselors. Their faces were marked by years of hardship. No softness remained in their eyes, only steel. On the great screen above them, the message from the Yellari played once again. The alien voices trembled with fear, but also carried a faint spark of hope. To the Deathworlders, to humanity, we call to you in our final hour. If you hear us, help us. We cannot survive alone. When the message ended, silence filled the hall. At last, Admiral Karan, a tall man with hair turned silver by age, spoke. His voice was calm but heavy. They remember us. They remember legends, another said bitterly. General Vera, her scarred face half lit by the screen, shook her head. Where were they when we needed help? When we bled against coalitions, when our colonies were burned. They abandoned us. Why should we return now? A murmur of agreement spread through the chamber. Many felt the same. Humanity had once tried to stand with others, and it ended with betrayal. Why repeat the past? But Counselor Darren, the oldest among them, raised a hand. Do not forget who we are. The galaxy feared us, yes, but they also knew this: when the weak called, we answered. Not because we owed them, not because they deserved it, but because it is who we are. General Vera's eyes narrowed. And if we answer, do you know what will follow? The Dominion will come. They will bring their fleets, their armies, their endless hunger for power. If we rise again, we cannot return to silence. The galaxy will never let us disappear a second time. Her words hung in the air. She was right. Once humanity revealed itself, there would be no hiding. Admiral Koran leaned forward. And if we do nothing, the Yellari will fall. More worlds will fall after them. The Dominion will grow until it cannot be stopped. If we wait too long, even we may not survive. We cannot live forever behind shadows. Another admiral, younger and fierce, slammed his hand against the table. I say we rise. The Dominion believes they own the galaxy. Let us remind them why they once feared the Deathworlders. Voices clashed, debate rising like a storm. But slowly the tide shifted. Memories of old wars, of human ships standing alone against impossible odds, filled the room. They remembered the promise. If the weak call, we will come. Finally, Counselor Darren spoke the words that ended the debate. We did not survive the trials of Earth. We did not build fleets in the dark only to let tyranny spread unchallenged. Humanity was shaped to endure and to fight. The galaxy has forgotten this truth. Perhaps it is time to remind them. One by one, the leaders nodded. The decision was made. The order spread across the hidden colonies. War factories roared to life. Massive shipyards lit up, their forges glowing like suns. Soldiers trained harder. Weapons were prepared, and ancient ships that had slept for centuries awoke. The fleet that rose was unlike any the galaxy had seen in generations. The ships were not elegant or beautiful. They were brutal. built for survival in the harshest battles. Black armor coated their hulls, layered thick enough to withstand storms of fire. Their weapons were devastating, designed to pierce through even the strongest shields. Every ship bore a name from humanity's past. Resolve, Iron Will, Unbroken Vengeance, Dawn of Terra. Each was a promise carved in steel. As the fleet assembled, Admiral Karan stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Watch. Before him stretched rows of warships, engines glowing bright against the darkness. It was a sight to stir both pride and dread. A young officer approached him. "Admiral, the fleet is ready. Shall we set course for Yalara Prime?" Karan's eyes lingered on the stars. For centuries, humanity had lived in silence, letting the galaxy forget. Now their return would echo across every world. He spoke slowly but with unshakable strength. "Set the course. Humanity answers the call." The fleet moved. Engines thundered, ripping through the storms that had hidden them for so long. The void trembled as the Deathworlders returned to the stars. Far away on Yalara Prime, the Yalari watched the skies with fear. No answer had come, and the Dominion drew ever closer. But in the endless dark between galaxies, something unstoppable was already on its way. The humans were coming. The skies of Yalara Prime glowed with fear. For weeks, the people of the Silver World had lived under the shadow of the approaching Dominion fleet. Every message that reached the planet spoke of doom. Systems near Yalara had already fallen. Outposts were silenced. Merchant ships had vanished into the void. Now the Yalari looked to their skies and saw what they dreaded most. Dark shapes, massive and merciless, breaking through the void. The Keth Dominion had arrived. Across the capital, alarms wailed. Families rushed into shelters beneath the crystal towers. Soldiers, though few, took their places along the defense lines. The council stood inside their high chamber, fear written across their faces. "They are here," whispered Councillor Sorel, her silver skin dimmed with despair. Another councillor spoke bitterly, "And still no one has come. No allies, no help, only silence." Their thoughts turned to the ancient message they had sent into the void. The plea to the Deathworlders. But weeks had passed and no answer had come. Perhaps the humans were only myths. Perhaps the legends were lies. High above the planet, the Dominion fleet took formation. Their ships were dark and angular, bristling with weapons. At the center stood the flagship, a monstrous vessel called the Spear of Dominion. Inside its command hall, Keth Warlord Draven surveyed the world below. His skin was scaled like obsidian, his eyes cold and sharp. He smiled, a cruel baring of teeth. "The Yalari tremble," he said to his captains. "They thought their cries would bring aid. But none comes. They will fall like all the rest." His officers bowed, their voices united. "Glory to the Dominion!" The fleet began its descent, weapons charging. On Yalara Prime, the skies darkened with fire. The first wave of enemy bombardment rained down, shaking the ground. Towers fell and the city groaned under the storm. The Yalari defense ships rose to meet them, but they were small and fragile compared to the Dominion's power. One by one, Yalari ships burst into flame. Their captains fought bravely, but courage could not replace firepower. The people watching from the surface wept as their defenders were torn apart. Inside the council chamber, the leaders held hands, preparing for the end. "It is over," one whispered. "Our plea was never heard." But then, something changed. The stars shifted. A ripple spread across the void, like water disturbed by a stone. Space itself seemed to open, and through that opening shadows emerged. First one ship, then another. Then dozens more. They were unlike any vessels the Yalari had ever seen. Dark, massive, armored like beasts of war. Their hulls bore the scars of old battles. Their engines burned with a fierce white light, brighter than suns. The Dominion fleet faltered. On the Spear of Dominion, Warlord Draven narrowed his eyes. "What is this?" Sensors screamed warnings. New ships were forming a wall between the Yalari planet and the Dominion's forces. A voice crackled across the channels, strong and cold. "This world is under our protection. Leave, or face destruction." The language was old, strange yet unmistakable. It was human. On Yalara Prime, the council gasped. The elder who had begged them to send the ancient signal fell to his knees, tears glimmering in his eyes. "They came," he whispered. "By the stars, the Deathworlders came." The Terran fleet moved into position, black ships stretching across the void like a shield of iron. Warlord Draven laughed, his voice sharp and mocking. Humans, relics of a forgotten age. They dare to face us? They are nothing but ghosts. He raised his clawed hand. Destroy them! The Dominion fleet surged forward, weapons blazing. Energy beams lit the void. Missiles streaked through the darkness. The full fury of the Keth fell upon the Terran wall. For a moment, the stars burned with war. But then the humans answered. The Terran ships roared to life. Their weapons unleashed a storm greater than anything the Dominion had prepared for. Rail cannons tore through shields like paper. Missiles, sleek and precise, found their targets with deadly accuracy. The first Dominion cruiser exploded in a blaze of fire. Then another. Then another. The Yalari, watching from below, gasped in awe. Where their own fleets had fallen in moments, the humans stood firm. Every Terran ship fought like a predator unleashed. On the bridge of the Eternal Watch, Admiral Koran stood tall, his eyes fixed on the enemy. Target their command vessels. Break their formation. Let them see what it means to face humanity. His officers obeyed. The Terran fleet cut into the Dominion lines with ruthless precision. Warlord Draven snarled as his ships crumbled around him. Impossible! They were supposed to be gone, but the impossible was happening. One Yalari soldier watching the battle from the ground whispered in wonder. They fight as if the stars themselves obey them. The Dominion tried to regroup, sending waves of ships against the Terrans. Yet for every human ship they struck, 2 more answered with fire. The Black Fleet did not break. It did not falter. Hours passed. The void was littered with wreckage. Dominion vessels burned, their crews scattered, their pride shattered. At last, the spear of Dominion limped back, its hull scorched, its weapons silent. Warlord Draven's eyes burned with rage and disbelief. He spat a promise across the channels. This is not the end, humans. The Dominion will rise again. You cannot stop us forever. Admiral Koran's reply was cold and unyielding. Try us. The Dominion fleet retreated, broken for the first time in centuries. On Yalara Prime, silence fell. The people emerged from shelters, staring at the skies where the Terran fleet floated, black against the stars. In the council chamber, the elders bowed their heads. The legends were true. Humanity had returned, and with them came hope. But hope was mixed with fear, for the Yalari knew that this victory was not the end. It was the beginning of something greater. The Dominion would not forget. They would not forgive. And now the whole galaxy would learn that the Deathworlders had risen once more. Yet for this day, Yalara Prime was safe. The people lifted their voices in song, a song of gratitude, of awe, and of rebirth. High above, Admiral Koran listened to the voices carried over comms. His heart was steady, but his mind was clear. This was not just a battle. It was a declaration. Humanity had answered the call, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The galaxy had heard whispers before, stories passed quietly from one world to another. They spoke of humans, the Deathworlders, who had once walked the stars and fought impossible battles. Many thought them extinct, a cautionary tale for children. But now the stories were real. The Yalari rejoiced, their world spared by a fleet thought long gone. Yet even as celebrations rose, the galaxy shivered. The humans had not arrived to negotiate, not to beg or bargain. They had arrived to fight, and the Dominion had seen their power firsthand. News spread faster than light. Traders and explorers carried the word from system to system. The humans have returned. Their fleet is unstoppable. On countless worlds, races who had suffered under the Dominion felt a flicker of hope. On others, leaders trembled, knowing that if humanity fully unleashed its strength, the balance of power would change forever. Deep in the Dominion's territory, warlords gathered. Fleet after fleet had fallen before these returning humans. Ships they had believed unbeatable were reduced to ash. Colonies thought secure were now targets of a force the galaxy had forgotten. Warlord Draven paced in the command hall of a repaired flagship. His scales bristled, eyes flashing with rage. "This is no ordinary force," he growled. "One ship alone crushed my vanguard. Entire systems can be liberated before we can respond. How can a race so small be so powerful?" His lieutenants lowered their heads. Fear was not common among the Dominion, but now it lingered like smoke. Far from the Dominion, the Terran fleet moved with quiet precision. Admiral Koran stood on the bridge of the Eternal Watch, observing the galaxy with measured calm. His eyes swept over star systems, noting weaknesses, evaluating targets. Humanity had returned, not as saviors alone, but as a reckoning. "Reports from Yalara," said Lieutenant Miri, her voice tight. "The Yalari are preparing to fight alongside us. They want to reclaim what was taken." Karan nodded. "Good, let them see the strength of allies. Let them learn to fight and remember it." The first coordinated attack came at the border of Dominion space. A Keth fleet had cornered a small Yalari system, intending to crush it completely. The humans arrived before the first shots could land. Their ships tore into the Dominion formation with devastating precision. Even outnumbered, the Terrans were untouchable. On the battlefield, one young Yalari officer, Kyle, watched in disbelief. He had never seen humans in person. Stories could not have prepared him for this. One human ship had cut through 10 Dominion vessels, moving faster, striking harder, and retreating before counterattacks could reach it. Kyle turned to his squadron. "We fight with them. Watch, learn, survive." The Yalari fought with renewed courage, inspired by the humans who had arrived from nowhere. And in every corner of the battle, the same pattern repeated. Humans struck, Dominion fleets faltered, and hope grew. Back on Yalara Prime, the Council observed the ongoing battles through long-range sensors. Each victory, each destruction of Dominion forces, was a testament to what the legends had promised. But they also understood the cost. Humanity did not fight lightly. Their methods were precise, efficient, and merciless against their enemies. The Keth fleets were broken, but humanity's fleets did not linger for trophies. They fought to stop the oppressors, not to rule the worlds they saved. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, whispers became reports. Entire Dominion colonies had been liberated. In some systems, humans landed on planets, their forces moving through enemy settlements with speed and strategy that seemed impossible. Soldiers of other races watched and learned, often for the first time, how to resist an invader. In the Dominion capital, panic had spread. Warlord Draven could no longer rely on numbers alone. Every fleet he sent against the humans failed. Every attempt to crush them ended in defeat. The once feared conquerors of the galaxy now faced a force that seemed unstoppable. Yet Draven refused to surrender. "Send everything," he ordered. "We must not fall. We cannot let them show the galaxy our weakness. Crush them at all cost." But even as his fleets assembled, the humans were already there. Every engagement, every skirmish turned into a decisive blow. The Dominion was learning a lesson they had never known. Underestimating humanity was fatal. On the bridge of the Eternal Watch, Karan observed the Dominion's desperation. They believe in numbers. They do not understand strategy, adaptation, or survival at extremes. "We will teach them." And teach them the humans did. Each engagement was not only a victory but a lesson. Dominion fleets began to fear not only human weapons but human tactics. Entire systems reconsidered their loyalty to the Dominion when they witnessed the efficiency and precision of the Terran fleet. The Yalari, once a timid and peaceful race, now joined battles with newfound courage. Their fleet, though small, was guided by humans in maneuvers that turned the tide in countless skirmishes. Soldiers who once cowered now fought alongside humans, learning to strike, evade, and survive. Kyle, the young officer, had never imagined that he would lead his people with such confidence. Each time he saw a human ship cutting through enemy lines, he felt a spark ignite within him. They were no longer helpless. They could stand, fight, and endure. Meanwhile, humans did not linger to celebrate victories. Their fleet moved relentlessly, striking at the Dominion strongholds, liberating worlds with speed that left enemies reeling. Every system freed became a testament to the return of humanity, a living message that the weak had allies and the mighty had limits. From deep space, a message reached Draven. It was from an advisor who had managed to survive one of the Terran attacks. "They are more than ships," the advisor said. "They are strategy, resolve, and precision. They fight as one, yet each acts alone when needed. They are unstoppable." Draven slammed his clawed hand against the console. "No, humanity cannot exist like this. We must adapt. We must win." But the humans were always one step ahead. They struck where the Dominion least expected, cut supply lines, destroyed command posts, and liberated entire sectors. The galaxy watched in awe and fear as one after another Dominion worlds fell. In every battle, humans showed not just strength but restraint. They did not conquer worlds for themselves. They did not enslave or steal. They destroyed only what threatened peace and freedom. For the Yalari, it was a revelation. Their once timid species had become part of something larger, something unstoppable. They were learning courage from the humans who had come for them, and the lessons would last for generations. Even in distant corners of the galaxy, where beings had long feared humans as myth, whispers spread. If humans return, even the greatest empires must fear. And so the reckoning continued. The Dominion's power, built on fear and domination, began to crumble. The galaxy began to remember what it had forgotten. Humanity was not just strong. Humanity was relentless, fearless, and unyielding. On Yalara Prime, as the stars burned with distant battles, the Council spoke quietly. "We sent a call for help and they came," the Elder whispered. "But they are not here to save us only. They are here to remind the galaxy that strength, courage, and honor still exist." The people of Yalara Prime, once defeated in spirit, looked to the sky with renewed hope. Their allies had arrived not to rule, not to conquer, but to fight for what was right. And in their hearts they knew this. The reckoning had only begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The Dominion had fought hard. They had sent wave after wave of fleets, confident in their strength, and certain that humanity could be crushed like any other opponent. Yet for the first time in centuries, the galaxy had seen the Keth falter. Systems they believed untouchable were liberated. Commanders who once feared no one trembled. The Dominion's empire was weakening, yet the humans did not gloat. Their fleet moved with relentless precision, liberating worlds and ensuring that the innocent were protected. They were a force of judgment, not vengeance, striking only at those who threatened freedom. On Yalara Prime, the Council watched the horizon. Smoke still rose from the cities damaged in the first attacks, but hope filled the air. Children ran through streets once empty, playing among the ruins while soldiers and volunteers rebuilt defenses and shelters. The people had learned courage from their saviors. Even now, the memory of the first human ships entering the skies brought a shiver of awe. Counselor Sorrel looked toward the stars. "They came when we had no hope. They fought when all others abandoned us. They are more than we ever imagined." "Yes," replied the Elder who had first suggested calling humanity. "They are not here to rule. They are here to remind the galaxy of what it has forgotten, that courage and honor still exist, and that the weak can be protected." Far beyond Yalara Prime, the Terran fleet moved toward the heart of the Dominion's power. Admiral Karan stood on the bridge of the Eternal Watch, his gaze steady and unyielding. For centuries, humans had watched the galaxy from the shadows, learning, preparing, and surviving. Now their time had come, not to conquer, but to restore balance. "Prepare for final engagement," Karan said to his officers. "We do not fight for glory, only for what is right. Make it quick. Make it decisive. Show them that the weak are no longer alone." Lieutenant Miri nodded. "Sir, all fleets are ready. Dominion forces are concentrated around the capital world, but they are spread thin due to previous losses." Karan's expression was calm. "Then let us proceed. Target command centers first. Strike where it hurts them most. The Dominion must learn that cruelty carries consequences." The approach was swift. Human ships moved through the void like shadows of judgment. Their fleet was silent, but every vessel was ready for battle. On the Dominion capital, alarms blared as the Keth finally understood the threat. Ships scrambled, weapons charged, but it was too late. The first wave of human attacks struck with devastating force. Massive weapons tore through shields and armor, destroying command hubs and supply depots. Entire fleets were thrown into chaos. The Dominion soldiers had never faced opponents like this. Every move of the human ships was precise. Every strike was calculated. Warlord Draven roared in fury. "This cannot be. They are unstoppable." Yet even as he ordered his remaining forces to counterattack, the humans anticipated every move. With unmatched strategy, they cut off retreat routes, intercepted reinforcements, and dismantled defenses one by one. It was a storm of black ships, overwhelming yet controlled, precise yet terrifying. On Yalara Prime, the Council observed through long-range monitors. The sight of the Terran fleet tearing through the Dominion brought tears to their eyes. They had sent a final plea, a desperate cry for help, and humanity had answered beyond their wildest dreams. For every victory, the Terrans offered a warning. The humans did not seek conquest. They did not enslave. They were here to protect the weak, punish the oppressors, and ensure that tyranny could not survive. As the battle raged, Kale, the young Yalari officer, watched the humans land on the Dominion's occupied worlds. Soldiers moved with efficiency and courage, liberating captured citizens and guiding them to safety. Kale realized that the humans were not just warriors, they were teachers. Their actions inspired others to fight, to resist, and to believe in the possibility of freedom. Hours turned into days. The Dominion's capital fell into disarray. Systems loyal to the Keth began surrendering or defecting. Even the most stubborn commanders realized that resistance against humanity's fleet was futile. The once feared empire was crumbling before their eyes. Finally, the Dominion called for a ceasefire. Warlord Draven, defeated and humiliated, sent a message across the stars. Humans, we yield. Spare our people and the fighting ends. Admiral Karan's reply was firm and unwavering. You have learned your lesson. Do not test the weak again. If you do, we will return. For the first time in history, the Dominion heard the words of warning from a race it could not break. The humans did not take vengeance. They did not demand tribute or rule. They only demanded that the weak be left in peace. On Yalara Prime, the council and citizens celebrated cautiously. Their world was free, their people saved. Yet the elders knew that this day was more than survival. Humanity's arrival had changed the galaxy forever. The Terran fleet, after ensuring that the Dominion's forces would no longer threaten the innocent, began to withdraw. Their black ships vanished into the void as silently as they had arrived, leaving behind hope, courage, and a galaxy forever altered by their presence. Kale stood among his people, looking to the stars where the Terrans had been. Will they return? He asked. The elder smiled. Only if the galaxy forgets what we learned today. Humanity will always answer the call of the weak. That is their way. That is their promise. Stories of the battle, of the Terran fleet, and of humanity's return spread quickly. Every race, from the smallest outpost to the largest system, began to remember what the legends had always said. That humans were not just survivors, not just warriors. They were protectors, fierce and unyielding. In the weeks that followed, the liberated worlds began rebuilding. Trade routes reopened. Systems that had once cowered under the Dominion's rule now flourished. The Yalari, inspired by humanity, strengthened their fleets, trained their soldiers, and prepared for the future with courage they had never known. The galaxy learned a lesson that day. Strength was not measured only by numbers or firepower. Courage, strategy, and a willingness to stand for the weak could change the tide of entire wars. And humanity had shown it in every strike, every landing, every calculated move in the void. High above, aboard the Eternal Watch, Admiral Karan looked at the stars. Their mission was complete. The weak were safe for now. But he knew this was only a beginning. The galaxy would continue to challenge them. New threats would rise. Yet humanity's message was clear. They would return when called. For the Yalari and for countless others, the final plea had been answered. And it had reshaped the galaxy forever. In the silence of space, the black ships of humanity moved onward, disappearing into the void. But the legend they left behind burned brighter than any star. When all else fails, call upon the humans because they will come.